Hey y'all, I know it's been a while since I last actually uploaded. It's a bit hard actually finding the motivation to write and edit a video when you have a bunch of bigger things to work on. I know a top 10 list is extremely generic and crap, but you don't have to worry. This is a top 9 list. Also, I'm sorry if I sound a bit congested while recording this because I am. I'm having some pretty bad seasonal allergies, so sorry for that. Anyway, video games, love or hate them, they have had a very big influence on modern media and pop culture in the past 2 decades. One of the biggest parts of media that I think they've had an influence on is music. So, because I like music and games, I'm going to talk about my personal favorite game soundtracks and what makes them so damn good. By the way, this is my opinion based off the games that I have personal experience with, so there's no shame in thinking about something else. If you want to share your favorites, please share in the comments. Not only do you share your opinion, but it helps me out as well. Anyway, let's get into it. Touhou is a weird one for me. I personally have only played one of the games for like 3 hours, so I don't have too much personal connection with this one. I mostly have learned about this game through the community, especially because its community overlaps with another game I'll talk about later. From what I've seen though, the music is actually really cool, and I'll find some of the themes on Spotify or YouTube music playlists when I'm putting it on for background music. There's also a huge amount of contribution from the creative fans. One of their most popular songs in the series, Night of Nights, isn't actually from the games, but a remix of another song, Flowering Nights, which is from the game. Overall, this soundtrack and the remixes of all the songs are a solid choice for you to put on while you're studying or something like that. Skyrim is pretty much a classic in the video game scene. It's the one game that 90% of serious gamers have played at least once. The open world of the game is really something to hail, as I find something new every single time to explore. And when you're exploring the calming mountains near Solitude, you hear the calming OST, hearing only the birds and the footsteps that you're making, and then a roar? Boom! A cold dragon attacks you, and the epic main theme plays, and it's all chaos. In all seriousness though, the absurdity of this game sometimes makes the great soundtrack feel off. At the same time, however, the random moments with the change of music works perfectly with one another, adding to the fun you can have in this game. This is the other game that I talked about in the Touhou section. Team Fortress 2 is simultaneously one of the most cool and weird games at the same time. You would think a game this goofy would have a goofy soundtrack to go along with it, but no. The Valve Orchestra killed it on this game. I can't describe how good all the Mercenaries' themes fit them and their personalities. The best example of this would probably be the Medic theme, my favorite. Just like listen to this shit. The world building in this game and its offshoots are so good. From the lovable characters to the godly music, it's a thing that you can't not enjoy. I just hope Valve decides to pay attention to the game for once, so maybe we can get more epic music. When I mention Terraria in this context, people who have played the game would immediately get why this soundtrack is on the list. The weird thing about Terraria is that it's almost all 8 to 16-bit music, yet it somehow makes it into different genres. Not only that, they're able to manipulate it in a way that perfectly matches the situation. When you're strolling in the breeze, something calming like the background music currently playing is present, but when you're fighting one of the many game's bosses, it's more like There is only a few soundtracks that can convey the mood set by this game better than this one, some of which will come up in a bit. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance is probably the most outlandish game in the Metal Gear series, but that makes it all the more epic. Full of things like Brazilian robot samurai, Skynet pedophiles, and big-ass gorilla cyborgs. Trust me, there's more. There's a lot to take in when it comes to this game. And with all those things comes one of the best lyrical music soundtracks in any game ever. Like seriously, I'm playing a song in the background that is an instrumental version for the sake of me speaking, but trust me, if you don't play this game with the lyrics, you're missing out on a lot. I highly recommend going and listening to some of the songs after this video. My favorites are Red Sun, A Stranger I Remain, and Collective Consciousness. And of course, there's the meme ones like It Has to Be This Way, which is also a bop. Battlefield 1 is my favorite first-person shooter game of all time. Like, the gameplay is so damn good, and with a game this cinematic, it makes it even more fun to experience. The music makes it even better. Like, you'll be in the middle of a World War I movie scene, shooting your Lewis gun down the mountains of Monte Grappa, as a plane gets shot down, crashing just behind you while bullets and tank shells fly past, knocking mud and bodies up into the air. Yeah, fucking cool. And on top of all of that, you get, in my opinion, the most epic soundtrack in all of gaming. Here, take a listen. You see? Fucking epic. And as a history nut, I really admire DICE for sticking as close to historical accuracy as possible while keeping the gameplay actually fun. The game after this one, not so much, but at least the PvP is still fun. You know how I said Battlefield 1 has the most epic soundtrack in gaming? Well, there is one contender for that title. Well, maybe more like 7. You see, the Souls games have the best boss music of any games that have bosses. The reason I put all of them into one for this list is because if I didn't, 50% of this list would be games made by From Software. In fact, these games have such good themes that some of them are my favorite pieces of orchestral music ever. My personal favorite song, like many, comes from one of the best Souls bosses of the same name, Ludwig the Holy Blade.
You were at my side all along. My true mentor, my guiding moonlight.
I am a slut for dark and creepy music like this, especially when paired with a badass eldritch monster with an ice sword. Now translate that to the rest of the series with maybe a bit less horror if you leave Bloodborne. Yeah, fucking cool. Alright, if you want to get even more quote-unquote metal than the Souls games, but a bit more in a literal sense, well, here you go. Doom. I feel like I would be doing a disservice if I didn't mention Mick Gordon's magnum opus. Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal have, in my opinion, the most memorable soundtrack in gaming, just behind the #1 spot. And you can see why. Yeah, the mute definitely fits the game. Plus, can I tell you how great the soundtrack is for workout music? Listening to this, I always get an extra rep or two in whenever lifting. Going for a run, this music makes me want to sprint the whole way. Needless to say, the Doom music always hits that masculine side of everyone with the thought of decapitating demons. Yep, at least half of you knew where this was going when you didn't see Minecraft on the rest of the list. One thing everyone can agree on is that the soundtrack is great. You can ask anyone, and if they say otherwise, they're wrong. But there are two types of fans for this soundtrack. One, wow, this is so calm and soothing, I like this. Or two, borderline obsessed. I am in group 2. There are a few reasons for this. I'm a huge fan for songs that mix two different styles, in this case classical piano and other instruments with electrical sounds and synth. I grew up with this game and have over 30,000 hours playing it across all platforms, so I'm biased. And then I use music as a sort of coping mechanism, and this soundtrack hits that spot and calms me down every time. This game's musicians are amazing. From the originals with C418 to the newer, more upbeat ones with people like Lena Raine. Sorry if I butchered that pronunciation. And the thing is, there is so much that went into the soundtrack that I think it deserves a video of its own. So if you want to see that, just say the word. This soundtrack reminds me and many others my age of our childhoods, and reminds us of those simpler times where we never had to worry about a thing.